The Pahalgam attack, a mineral tug-of-war, and a rapidly expanding global bloc. The world is rearranging itself, and India is poised to take a leading role in this rearrangement. BRICS might shape the next decade of global geopolitics. For the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Prime Minister Narendra Modi joined leaders from Brazil, China, Russia, South Africa, and with a growing list of new members, India's agenda was clear. Reform the system, amplify the voice of the Global South, and steer a new multilateral order. Hi, this is Richa Dwivedi for New India Junction. Let's break down what really happened at BRICS 2025 and why it matters more than you think. BRICS is a bloc originally formed to counterbalance the West's economic dominance. But now, BRICS is expanding, with countries like Iran, Egypt, and the UAE joining in, signaling a major pivot from a 5-member club to a growing coalition representing the developing world. At the 2025 Rio Summit, two things were central: reform and realignment. And India is helping lead that charge. India's first major push, reforming the global order. Prime Minister Modi called out what many have tiptoed around, that the UN, IMF, WTO and other international bodies are relics of a different era. They don't reflect the realities of a post-pandemic multipolar world, and they certainly don't speak for the Global South. For India, the message is consistent: updating the system without breaking it, to include those who have historically been underrepresented in global decision-making. Here's a quote from Prime Minister Modi at the summit: "We must build a more inclusive and representative global order, where the Global South has a meaningful say." But reform wasn't the only message. Just days before the summit, several lives were lost in a terror attack on tourists in Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir. India brought this to the table to insist that counter-terrorism must be principled and non-negotiable. If any country provides direct or indirect support to terrorism, it must pay the price for it. There must be absolutely no hesitation in imposing sanctions against terrorists. We cannot weigh victims of terrorism and its supporters on the same scale. This matters because many BRICS members, including Russia and China, have their own complex ties with Pakistan and the region. India's bold but measured stand put the spotlight on how the Global South, too, suffers from terrorism, and that this issue can't be sidelined for political convenience. At the same time, BRICS members, including India, condemned the violence in Gaza and Iran, calling for restraint and humanitarian relief. Now, India has always walked a tightrope in West Asia, balancing ties with Israel, Iran, and Arab states. By backing a humanitarian position, India positions itself as a responsible power, strongly advocating for peace without picking sides. Third, and this is new, India raised a bold but often overlooked issue: the geopolitics of minerals. From lithium to cobalt, the world's energy future depends on critical minerals. But control over these resources is deeply unequal, and Prime Minister Modi warned against the weaponization of access. It is important to ensure that no country uses these resources for its own selfish gain or as a weapon against others. He called for BRICS-level cooperation in mapping resources, boosting sustainable mining, and ensuring that green transitions don't leave the Global South behind. On the sidelines, there were signals too. Prime Minister Modi met with Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel on the sidelines of the summit. India is investing deeply in South-South cooperation, building economic, technological, and political ties among developing nations, without the baggage of conditional loans or strategic coercion. In fact, India has been quietly working on digital public infrastructure, health cooperation, and disaster resilience with several countries in Latin America and South Africa. Meanwhile, the world took note. Donald Trump, never one to stay silent, warned that countries aligning with anti-American BRICS policies could face an additional 10% tariff. Now, whether that materializes or not, it shows something important. BRICS is being taken seriously, and India's ability to straddle multiple worlds, from the G7 to the Global South, gives it a unique edge. So where does this leave India? Well, India's BRICS strategy is principled yet pragmatic. Stay non-aligned but not non-engaged. Promote reforms without confrontation. Lead with ideas, not ideology. India wants to be the voice of stability, the bridge between East and West, and the champion of the global South. Whether it's AI governance, green finance, or equitable development, India is pitching solutions that others can trust. In a world torn between polarities, India at BRICS is advancing a model of non-West, non-anti-West, and offering BRICS a future where competition doesn't cancel cooperation. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit like, share the video, and don't forget to subscribe to New India Junction. Until next time.